So if you're going to own crypto, you should know what it really means. When you own a coin, you don't actually have it in your possession. It's not like a physical thing that you could carry. Even if you store your coins on a hardware wallet, you still don't actually have them in your possession. You see, cryptocurrencies are stored on the blockchain. What happens when you buy, sell, trade, or transfer your crypto to different exchanges or devices is you use something called a public and a private key pairing. This public and private key pairing unlocks your crypto from specific accounts and moves them to whatever account you want. The easiest way to think about a public and a private key is a mailbox. Everyone could see your mailbox and your address. If they want to send you mail, you give them your address and they mail you something. It then goes into your mailbox. Your address is your public key. It's fine to send your public key out because that's where you want your crypto to be sent to. Your public key is a random set of numbers and letters, uppercase and lowercase, usually 30 to 34 characters in length. And you could create as many public keys as you want. This is good because your public key is, well, public. Anyone who sees your public key could look it up on the blockchain and see how much you actually have inside of that public key address. So let's say that you want Bob to send you 2 Bitcoin. All you need to do is send Bob your public key or your public address, and he will send that to your public address. Now, if you get mail and it's in your mailbox, you need a key to unlock it. Similarly, if you receive 2 Bitcoins from Bob, you need a private key to unlock it and move it around. This is your private key, and this is where your private key comes in play. Usually, you won't even know what your private key is. This is because private keys are kept secret on exchanges to minimize risk. The exchanges like Coinbase and Binance actually hold your private keys with them in their secure servers so that you can't accidentally send them to someone if you're new to this whole thing. It really minimizes the risk if they hold it. Now, if you get a hardware wallet or a paper wallet or some other type of wallet, then you will generate your own private keys and you'll have access to them. And this is how you truly own your crypto. Whoever has access to the private key is the owner of the cryptocurrency. And it's really important. You do not want to give out your private key to anyone. This is because anyone with your private key could get into your crypto account. An easy way to think about it is like this. In today's world, everything is based off of credit. Whether you're trading stocks or have credit in your bank account, it's all based off a credit-based ledger system that's controlled by a third party, which is the banks. If you see what happened with Greece, Venezuela, or other countries, you'll understand that these banks could go bust. Even in America, the banks needed the bailouts. Sometimes the central authorities may not actually be able to honor the debts on the credits. With Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, only the person with the private keys actually has access to and owns the cryptocurrency. Everything is on the blockchain, which has trust built into it. So you don't have to trust a central authority or third party or bank or anything like that. The blockchain holds them, and the public and private key combinations tells the blockchain who the owner is. So as an example, if you want to send 1 Bitcoin over to Lauren, what happens is you'll get her public address, her public key, put it into your account on the exchange, and then the exchange will take your public key and your private key, put them together and say, okay, you are the owner of your Bitcoin. And then they'll look at Lauren's public key and say, okay, you're the owner, you're verified, and you're going to send it over to Lauren's account, Lauren's public key. And then Lauren and her exchange will get the Bitcoin, and then her public key and her private key will come together and say, okay, I have this Bitcoin now. And all of this happens on the blockchain. And there's a lot of videos that go into major detail into the technical sides of what actually happens, talking about public keys and private keys and hashes and encryption. But this is just an overview and pretty much what you need to know. You don't need to know all of that, although I do recommend watching videos on it because it's incredibly interesting. But it's sort of like money and the banking. Like, you don't need to know like what exactly happens when you swipe your credit card for it to work. It just works. Similarly, the same thing happens with crypto. You don't have to actually know all the ins and outs, but I do recommend watching some videos and learning more about it. Hey, what's up? So I figured I would explain what I talked about in the last video by showing you some examples of the public ledger that blockchain uses. So just to recap, this will make it a little bit easier. Just to recap, everybody who buys Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, they have a private key and they have a public key. Most of the time, the private key is kept secret on an exchange. The public key is what you see. The public key is what you give out to people so that you could send and receive cryptocurrencies. Your public key doesn't have any of your personal information on it, meaning it doesn't have your address or name or phone number or anything like that. It is simply a set of letters and numbers that is assigned to you based off of your private key. The private key is the real key to your online wallet. The private key can control everything. Now, the blockchain is a public ledger. A ledger is something that records transactions. Some people think that because the ledger is public, that means that your personal information is public. This is not the truth. The only thing that is public is your public key. Now, if someone knows your public key belongs to you, then yeah, they will know the information about your transactions, and that's about it. But you could always just create a new public key, so it's really not that big of a deal. Now, whenever you make a transaction, your transaction gets put onto the blockchain. This is why it's such a big deal. Every transaction that has ever been done is on the blockchain. Right now, there's two main blockchains. There's the Bitcoin blockchain and the Ethereum blockchain. Now, whenever you send cryptocurrency, your transaction needs to be verified a number of times before it gets put into your wallet. Now, whenever you make a transaction, your transaction gets put onto the blockchain. Every transaction that has ever been done is on the blockchain. Right now, there's two main blockchains. There's the Bitcoin blockchain and the Ethereum blockchain. Whenever you send cryptocurrency, your transaction needs to be verified a number of times before it gets put into your wallet. You can check the blockchain, and by checking the blockchain, you can see how many times your transaction has been verified. You can also see all of the other transactions that are happening on the blockchain. Etherscan.io is the site you can use to check the different transactions on the Ethereum blockchain. And blockchain.info, which is this one right here, this is the site that you could use to check for the transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain. So this is for the Bitcoins, this is blockchain.info, and then Ethereum is etherscan.io. Now, when you put in a public key or other information about a transaction, you can see the details. So let's just look at this. Right here, you could see all of the different transactions, right? So if you just click on one of these transactions, you could see all of the details on this current transaction. It's from this public key, and it's to this public key. So what is this public key? If you click on here, then this comes up, and you can see, okay, this is an Ethermine scan. There's an Ethermine public key. So this is probably someone, mining for Ether or mining for something. And basically, it's just going out to all of these different public addresses. So if you click on this public address, you could see, okay, this is receiving from this. These are the different details. This is the address. This is the balance of ETH that it actually has on this public address or public key. This is the estimated USD value. These are the number of transactions that has occurred with this public key. And if you go down, these are the different transaction hashes, the block, how long ago it happened. So you could see it gives you, where it's from, where it's to, obviously all of that stuff, and how much it was actually in there. And then along with the fee that was taken out to run the whole, block in and of itself. So this is pretty freaking cool if you ask me. And if you click on one of these particular transactions, then that's when it brings up this, which brings up the details of it. Right here, this is the block confirmation. So remember, you need to get confirmations. You need to be verified for your recipient or for your transaction to become a success. So once it has like just a few, I think it's 6 confirmations, that's when it becomes a success. And you could check that by going over to Etherscan and then checking it. It tells you the timestamp, it was timestamped, who obviously all of this information. And here's the thing. If you look at all of this information, there's no way to identify the owner of the wallet because there's no name and there's no detail giving that information away. This is why and how the blockchain is able to be a public ledger for the world to see, and yet also allow the owners of each wallet to remain, pretty much anonymous to the general public. What this does is this gives transparency to the world while still remaining private. And that is quite amazing if you ask me. This technology, where everything is automatically put into this ledger that is distributed throughout tens of thousands of computers around the world and is secure and unable to be hacked, is going to be the way that companies track nearly everything. Right now, almost all of the big companies are in the beginning phases of testing this blockchain technology. Supermarkets are using blockchain technology to keep track of food, and IBM is using the blockchain technology to power it all. Obviously, credit card companies like American Express are on it, MoneyGram International, and then there's more, from Walmart to Goldman Sachs. They're all using this technology and they're trying to implement it. And in 10 years' time, this blockchain technology, it will be an everyday part of our lives. Right now, you are incredibly early, and that is very, very exciting.